leadership of the chairman of the Armed Services Committee, Mr. Adam Smith, and the leadership of our colleague from California, Mr. Khanna, for his persistence in all of this. Mr. McGovern, as chair of the Rules Committee, was very instrumental in making sure that this would come to the fore, and Mr. Leader, instrumental leader in bringing it to the fore. Thank you for the large number of votes, Mr. Witt, Mr. John Palmer, Mr. Khanna, the co-chairs of the Progressive Caucus, important in all of this as well. So here we are asserting Congress's long-established responsibility in the oversight of our use of military force, and also limiting Americans' engagement in this war, which has gone on far too long. I think we all agree. It's so sad. The President must sign this legislation. We're so proud of the bipartisan support, bicameral legislation that we will sending him to advance a peaceful, enduring solution to a horrific humanitarian crisis. Thank you again for this important step in shining a spotlight on what's happening in Yemen, setting a standard for what kinds of military engagement we take part in, how we support other nations, and how the impact that has on human dignity of the people of those countries, in this case Yemen. So it is with great honor that I will now sit down and sign. Oops, did it in the wrong place. I did it in the Vice President's place. Well, he'll have to just turn an N into something. Mr. Khanna, did you want to say something about this legislation?
I just want to say thanks first to the Speaker, to Leader Hoyer, to the Rules Committee Chairman, Mr. McGovern, to our Leader Clyburn, and the co-chairs, Mark Pocan and Camilla J. Paul. It was really a collective effort to finally get this for a vote. And we didn't get a vote for 2 years with the previous speaker on this. And the consequence was thousands of people died. People often say, why am I so passionate about this? And there was a famine in West Bengal in 1943, and my grandfather at the time was in jail, and 3 million people died because of indifference. And this famine could have 14 million people. So I really hope the President will sign the bill.
Mr. Leader?
I want to congratulate Mr. Khanna, particularly for his leadership, Mr. Chapel and Mr. Pocan. As many, Save the Children thinks as many as 22 million people could be at risk of starvation. The inability to get food delivered to people who need food, or medicine, or humanitarian relief, poses a challenge to the international community. And this is an important step for us to take, to say this cannot go on, it must not go on. We must not facilitate this continuing threat to millions of people and their lives and well-being. So again, we had a very good vote on this, and it was a very positive vote. The Senate has passed it as well with a majority vote, and I would hope the President of the United States would concur with the majority of the United States Senate in a bipartisan vote, and the majority of the House of Representatives with a bipartisan vote to sign this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Clyburn. Anything about the number of votes or anything?
Well, I'm very, very pleased that we were able to get to such a good place with this vote. And thanks to the co-chairs of the Progressive Caucus for all your work on this, Ro. Thank you so much. Not just for your work on this, but keeping all of us sensitive to these kinds of issues. I often think about coming to the Speaker several years ago to similar circumstances, and it sensitized me for a lifetime on these issues. And I thank you so much. Mr. McGovern, always it's good to work with you and Mr. Leader as well. So thank you so much.
I and to the chair of the Rules Committee, very important in facilitating this. As you may recall, in a previous administration, they struck the ability to bring this up from the rule. That didn't happen this time. Thank you, Mr. McGovern.
No, and I'm grateful to the speaker and to our leadership and to those here, especially Mr. Khanna, for bringing this up. As the speaker mentioned, in the previous Congress, privileged war powers resolutions were deprivileged, and the Rules Committee, unfortunately, was the place they did that. Things have changed. These are important matters. They ought to go to the floor. They ought to have a debate. And I think if the United States of America stands for anything, we need to stand out loud and foursquare for human rights. What's happening in Yemen is horrific, and it is unconscionable. And I'm proud that the Senate and the House both passed these resolutions. It is now going to the President, and I hope he has the decency to sign this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Co-chairs, Dr. Paul and Bill Khanna. Thank you.
I just want to also reiterate my thanks to our leadership, to you, Madam Speaker, to my colleague, Ro. We've been working on this for a couple of years. Mr. McGovern, your leadership on human rights is unparalleled, in my opinion. But there are these moments when we can do something truly consequential, bipartisan, bicameral, where we can stop the suffering of millions of people. And I think this is one of these moments where we have done this now. We have done our job, both in the House and the Senate, both parties, and now it's really up to the White House and Mr. Trump to sign this and bring some relief and some conscience back to this part of the country. So I'm looking forward to that moment, and I'm grateful to work with all of you on this.
Thank you.
And just thank you to our leaders for making sure this was a priority. Ro, thank you for all your work on this. Jim McGovern, your strategic work around this was absolutely instrumental. 3 times last session, we saw this not go through. What a difference November 6th makes. 150 kids are dying a day of starvation, and because we were able to get this done working in a bipartisan way, historically, the War Powers Resolution being enacted, we hope the President signs this. It's very important.
So, well, this is bicameral and bipartisan, and I want to join all of you. Mr. McGovern wears many hats in all of this. He's the chair of the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission, so he's concerned about what's happening to human rights in Yemen. He's also been a leader in ending hunger in the world. You've heard of McGovern Dole. It's not this McGovern, but this McGovern continues the work of Senator McGovern in terms of ending hunger in the world, so that these children were starving and suffering, and as Denny indicated, even dying. It had to stop. So we salute the leadership and the persistence of the members who are here. Again, I want to commend the chairman of the Armed Services Committee, Adam Smith, for his extraordinary leadership in this regard as well. Persistence, that's what it takes. So now we'll just be persistent, and I hope that the President will sign the legislation. I hope he does so with pride and without incident. Thank you all very much.